Guys, welcome back to the show. And we are here today to talk all about virtual assistants, how to outsource your business, how to implement more systems in your business as a real estate agent or real estate investor, or just an entrepreneur in general, and who to have better here on the podcast to talk about that than one of the leaders of one of the top real estate virtual assistant, virtual staffing companies in North America right now, Rocket Station. And we are here with Greg Brooks. He is one of their leaders. He is one of the founding members of the company as well. And he's going to be talking all about how to work with virtual assistants, the different things that real estate agents run into, and how to get started, outsourcing your business and having more time in your day so that you can spend it back into income producing activities, your friends, your family, everything like that. So, Greg, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Yeah. Yeah, Kobe, thanks so much for having us, man. We're excited to kind of jump in and talk and hopefully get into the nitty-gritty. I know, especially through COVID, like VAs was like the catchy phrase that every agent needs one, but doesn't know where to find one or has had one. And maybe the experience was good, maybe it wasn't. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can kind of shed some light on kind of the real behind VAs, what they can do, what they can't do. But thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, no problem. So, like, first of all, just before we dig into the strategy and the tactical, practical stuff, just kind of tell us the audience here just a little bit more about yourself and who you are, so they know who they're listening to and what the credibility is and where it's coming from, essentially.
Yeah, definitely, man. No, I appreciate it. I'm based in Dallas, Texas. That's where Rocket Station's based. I've been with Rocket Station now almost 4 years. So I'm sure this might resonate with some of the listeners. Prior to joining Rocket Station, I had no idea. We've got almost over 2,000 employees in the Philippines. But prior to joining Rocket Station, I'd never heard of virtual assistants. I had no idea what VAs were. I had no idea where the Philippines was on a map. And was very fortunate through a colleague that I had worked with. Actually, one of my first jobs right out of college. His brother is one of our other partners in the business, and they were in kind of scale mode. We're kind of looking for I don't know, loudmouth sales guy, like so many of us are, and I guess I fit the bill. But was very fortunate coming out of college. I was a collegiate athlete, played Division I soccer. Was fortunate enough to be able to work for the college I attended, and kind of got the entrepreneurial bug like pretty early. Once I realized like working in higher ed was just not the pace of what I wanted. I was like your typical 7 jobs in 6 years, a couple of sold businesses, a couple of failed businesses, just like trying to figure it out and carve out my own entrepreneurial journey. So it's been cool now. 4.5 years into working with Rocket Station, but 15, 16 years into my own professional experience, like kind of being in this cool situation with Rocket Station where I get to kind of fulfill my own entrepreneurial needs through working with, real estate professionals who bet on themselves and are kind of growing their own businesses, while also kind of getting to experience this cool culture of this new virtual work world that we're all kind of experiencing and encountering and trying to figure out here kind of post COVID.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So, like, you're an entrepreneur at heart. And then I think that's very helpful when it comes to working with entrepreneurs. And it's pretty interesting. And we're definitely going to talk more about this as well, is that, what you guys are doing, you guys are working with entrepreneurs on both sides of the coin, right? Virtual assistants, they are essentially, self-employed individuals in a way, and they're almost like contractors, except, I'm sure you guys have more to say on that as well. But yeah, I mean, just let's dig right on into it. So if you are a real estate agent, if you are a real estate entrepreneur, investor, what is the best time to start hiring virtual assistants, in your opinion?
Yeah, definitely. And this is one thing that I think a lot of, and in the VA industry, the virtual assistant industry is probably guilty of it. What I tell people is like, once you have that, we all feel that push pull, right? When we start, whether as an agent or as an investor, or we start into real estate, there's that learning curve, right? Just like anything. And I think so many people, through, reading books like The 4 Hour Work Week or Traction, we try to hire and build our business a little bit too early, right? We start to realize our blind spots or places and things that we don't want to do, but we haven't like fully grasped, like, what is our goal? Like, what are we trying to accomplish? Whether it's like your lead generation, your marketing channels, like how are you getting your brand out there and building your business? Or if it's the operational side of it, right? The transaction to close process, providing great customer service. What I tell people is like, there's a very obvious point when you need to hire someone. And it's when you realize that the entire business you've built revolves around you and your time and your responses,
Right.
right? So if there's still parts of your business you're figuring out, what I tell people is, in terms of hiring VAs, that's probably not the best time. Like if you're not great at marketing or don't have a background in like paid social media management or whatever, go find a consulting firm, go find a marketing agency that just does that. There certainly are VAs, there certainly are virtual assistant resources out there that can do that. But what typically happens is that relationship is more of an employee employer relationship. So they're going to look to you for your expertise, for guidance, for strategically kind of what you want to align at. So if that's like a gap in your tool belt, if you will, don't go hire a VA for it. Go find a marketing guy, go find a marketing consultant, pay for a course, educate yourself in terms of how to run Facebook ads or Google ads or optimize your SEO. So that's what I would say. I think all of us come to the point, especially in real estate, a lot of us get into this industry because of the work-life balance, or quote unquote, the perceived work-life balance.
Right.
And then we get into it. And to be a successful agent, there's not many successful agents I've talked to that don't work harder at real estate than they did at their W-2 job or any job they've ever had, right? It's a lot. You're talking about the biggest decision most of your clients will ever make in their entire lives, right? So you've got to be on it at all times, not to mention you've got to manage, you've got to be your CMO, you've got to be your chief revenue officer, right? There's a lot going on there. So I think once you've established kind of how you want to run the business and really where you want to specialize yourself, that's when looking to hire, looking to bring in VAs can be so beneficial, because now you can take these tasks, these systems, these operational day-to-day things like transaction coordination, lead follow-up, lead generation, managing your CRM, and you can start to document how you want that done in the structure of your growing company. And then that's the type of stuff that is like perfect to hand over to VAs, where you can put a structure in place, give them a little bit of guidance, and they can plug in and operate exactly how you want them to.
Right, exactly. I love that you mentioned that as well, because I think, you talked about it, earlier on the show, like when we first started, is that, during kind of like the pandemic, during COVID, bunch of entrepreneurs went out there, got VAs, and everybody just, that was like the new shiny object, right? That was the new toy. Everybody needed one to play with, or just they needed one because it was going to solve all of their problems. And then, clearly that's not the case, right? The way you mentioned it. I think, and this is something you can touch on as well and expand on is, in my opinion, I think the best time for somebody to hire a VA, or the only time that somebody should be hiring an assistant, an outsourcing person, is when they already have that system in place, right? So if you don't even know how something's going to get done yourself, how are you going to teach it to, somebody else to do it for you? And do you think that's the case as well?
Yeah, no, 100%. And what I will say, like the word process, for anybody who's kind of gone on that journey, maybe you've joined mastermind groups or done coaching, or you're a part of a network on Facebook or LinkedIn of other real estate professionals, the process word gets thrown around a lot, right? Like we all know we need processes, right? We need the Henry Ford assembly line. I think what's tough for like most entrepreneurs, and like maybe you can attest to this, is it's like real estate is go, 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 right? Like if it comes down to like, hey, I need to go follow up with these referral leads, or I need to go, set up this open house and sell my inventory to make money, or I can sit behind my desk and document what I do and how I do it. Like the real estate agent is always going to go out there and find the next deal, find the next, piece of business, find the next connection, right? So yes, process is so important. And I think it like gets beat to death a lot in the kind of real estate community. And there's not a lot of like actionable, like, okay, I get it, I need process, or like, I get how I operate my business, there's a process to it, but like, how do I now document that process? How do I now train somebody on that process? And that's really what we try to do at Rocket Station. Being a business, one of my partners, he was a real estate investor in Dallas. So this whole business, circa 11, 12 years ago, was built out of his need to kind of grow and level up as an entrepreneur. And kind of, through a series, he calls them punches in the face, I'll call them lessons learned. Like realizing that process is so pivotal, that he wasn't good at sitting there and documenting how and what for every software, every process they had in the business, and then training and hold team members accountable takes time and it takes energy. So that's where I would say from the process standpoint, yes, we've all heard it. It's all, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably far enough along on your journey. You understand, like, I need to document my processes. And really what we do, and really, 50% of our business is, yes, hiring and finding great VAs and great talent to work in those processes. But a lot of it is just helping busy entrepreneurs who need an expert to help them kind of do that brain dump, download, what are you doing? How are you doing it? Right. There's the Gary Keller book where he had someone follow him around for a year, right, and document everything he did. Well, number one, who can afford someone to follow him around for a year? And like, number two, like, who's got time for that? So what we try to do with our client is, in little micro sections, help them understand like where their time isn't being used effectively. And then we've got a team that helps support them through that download in order to make it very easy, where you come out with these very professional documents, KPIs, metrics around every single piece of your business, which then makes it very easy to empower a virtual assistant to plug in and actually carry out the work, because they've got clarity in what they need to do and how they need to approach their job every single day from the CEO, right? Kind of that pattern of going from, hey, I'm real estate agent operator, to like, I'm the CEO of my business. Those processes are like the key stepping stones to get you there.
Right, exactly. I think it's, it's one of the most important things, because you can't scale beyond yourself if you don't put in the duplication aspect, right? And that's something that we teach a lot of, is duplication, duplicating yourself outside of yourself. So you have more time to put into growth, to put into, if you want to spend more time, like we were saying, with your family, with your friends, enjoy the lifestyle and the income that you've created as well. So that is one of the key pieces, I think, when it comes to, understanding your processes and your outsourcing. And I think an issue of why agents don't do it soon enough, and maybe you can give some advice on this, is they don't want to slow down, right? Because like you said, real estate's go, go, go. So when they have, 4 deals in the pipeline, and they're so stressed out and they're anxious and they need to, they're on their phone 24/7, you tell them, hey, you need to spend about, a week, or they don't know how much time it takes to slow down, to put in processes in place, to do hiring. They don't want to do that. They don't want to slow down. They can't seem to find any time in their schedule. So I mean, is that something that you guys are doing, or what are you guys seeing when it comes to people who are like that, and how can you help them slow down a little bit? And does it just take some sacrifices, right? Like, that's the hard truth.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, especially after the last 2, 3, 4, depending on what market you're in, 7 years of this crazy bull market, like, it's like, why would I slow down? Like, I'm making more money than I ever have. Deals are falling in my lap. Like we get it, right? That's kind of coming from this world. We totally understand, like, the solo operator, even if you're a part of a brokerage where you get a lot of support, like, you don't have time to slow down, right? You getting the next deal, getting the next deal through the pipeline. I mean, that's money on the table. That's you being able to hire more people, whatever the case may be. So yeah, we definitely see that. And that's where, say, the word brake pedal, I think, always kind of makes agents kind of pucker, right? You don't ever want to have a brake pedal, right? It's a fast industry, but that's where us kind of being process development experts, where we just give, I would say, accountability, right? We in very hyper focused, very like time, respectful to the agent's time, we help kind of slow them down. And in a 30-minute call, in an hour call, we can kind of start parsing this together. And what the feedback we get from a lot of agents being so go, 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 is it's like, hey, I love that I had that hour process mapping call on my calendar, because I knew that that time was time blocked to be able to get in and just think about my business, right? Don't worry about the new couple who I'm trying to find a house for, the 6 listings that I've got coming to market. Like, I knew that that hour was blocked, and I had the accountability to be able to say, like, hey, everything else gets shut off. This is what I'm focusing on. And really, like, what we're talking about is you're focusing on building your business, building your brand, right? Like, we're not talking about just wasting an hour to talk about, well, what do I do every day? Like, these are the pivotal things that have to happen in order for you to scale yourself and to multiply, or like you said, duplicate yourself. So just that accountability is feedback that we get that people really like. And I would tell people, just that time blocking mentality, right? If you just want to do this yourself, put an hour every single week on your calendar, or put an hour on the weekend to say, you know what, I'm going to just document the steps for my transaction process. I'm going to document the steps for my client retention process. I'm going to document my referral process, and just give yourself that hour, because I mean, you get 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks into that, And I mean, real estate isn't a super massively complicated industry, at its surface. We're not talking about like developing intricate software. So like, you know what I mean? Like just by spending that time and just time blocking yourself, I feel like, a lot of our clients, they feel very empowered because they're like, oh, okay, like, yeah, this makes sense. Like now I can hand off even simple stuff like count my calendar management, right? Booking my
Right.
appointments, new business proposals, like just little things. Just get those little daily tasks, give yourself an hour each week to do it. The other thing, it's funny that you said, the time to do it. The other thing that we find is it's like the how do I want to say it? The confidence, right? How many listeners, how many people have said like, well, nobody does it better than me. I've got to do it. Right. Like that is like the ultimate paradigm shift. Like if you've ever said that, thought that, you've got to retrain your habits to say like, okay, I'm the greatest. Kind of what I'll jokingly do with some of our clients is it's like, you are the best. You're the best, right? You're the best. Nobody's better than you. No one can do it better than you. But how cool would it be if you had 3 people who could just do it 80% as good as you? Like, would that help your business? And it's always a yes, right? Like it's on my office wall. One of my favorite quotes is the Rockefeller quote, where it's like, I would rather make 1% of 100 people's actions than 100% of just my own actions. Right. So it's like making that shift from solo operator, I'm the secret sauce, I'm the only one that can do that, to being a business owner. You've got to trust people. Right. And I think kind of one of the things that comes from our model in being a process first company, is that confidence, right? When you can like look at a process flow chart or an SOP or a training document, you're like, yeah, that's what I do. Like that's very empowering as a business owner. And it helps with that confidence piece to say, hey, let's all just sing kumbaya and realize you are the greatest. No one can do it at your level. But we're going to find you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who can do it at 80%, 90%, 98% of you. And check this out, you've got formalized training and process docs and SOPs that's going to help them get even closer to that 100% of you. Right. That's very empowering for an agent who is go, go, go. So I think that's my other piece of advice that I would say. And I've gone through it myself, like having failed businesses, now having been here at Rocket Station and seeing our growth through COVID and how, VAs have become normalized. It's like that trust, right? That realization that it doesn't have to be perfect, right? But for the sake of like whether you want to grow your business to double next year, or whether you just want to actually take 3 vacations with your family next year, you're going to have to trust people, right? You're going to have
Yeah.
to, get the right people in there, but then empower them to do the work. And it's okay in the beginning to be like, you know what? At 80% of them doing this, it's way better than me having to spend the 2, 6, 20 hours a week of my time because it's leaving me stuck in the mud and I'm not able to take that next level, take that next step as an entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of agents have that fear, like you said, where they think they do it the best themselves. And like I mean, yeah, it could very well be. I mean, I don't necessarily think it. They are the best. I mean, we all think we're the best at things that we're not at. But I mean, it is that like fear if they think it's more of they don't trust other people, like you said. They don't think that somebody else is going to do it as good. They don't think that if they put it into somebody else's hand, it's ever going to get done even. So that's why I think a lot of agents have that fear of outsourcing, especially to human beings instead of like technology. And that's something that we're going to touch on pretty soon here. But like something I'll say is just if you don't or if you're not willing to risk and blow up your business, then the industry is going to blow it up for you, right? Then you're always going to be stuck there. And if you're finding yourself in a position where you're stuck, you're not progressing, you're not taking risks to move forward, then somebody's going to pull you back down and blow your entire business up, throw a brick or burn your house down or something like that in terms of an analogy. But so yeah, so that is something that I think, maybe you can touch on is for an agent who is thinking about outsourcing to technology and processes and tasks. They're like, oh, I have CRMs, I have drip campaigns, I have, this is the new coolest tech software out there that can help me outsource everything. Why do I need to pay somebody to do it who's going to make errors, who's going to have human errors that I can't control, versus this cool technology here that is going to do exactly what I think it's going to do, is going to do exactly what I tell it to do. So what's your take on that? when it comes to outsourcing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like some of the technology out there, just even in the last 5 years, I mean, across kind of the lines of business that we touch in the industry, from property management to the retail side of the business to the investor side. I mean, there's some cool technology out there, right? There's some very from AI, like computer learning, automations. I mean, even just having like a really robust CRM. I mean, there's definitely stuff that, what typically happens is we'll go map out a client's process, and just from our knowledge of the CRM that they're using, or the marketing, platform they use to do their calls or their texts or their, what or their postcards, like however they're interacting. I mean, we'll candidly sometimes go back to people and be like, hey, you're not using this part of your CRM. You could automate this whole workflow, and this will just help you scale. And it's way more cost effective. I mean, our VAs are $10 an hour, right? So in most markets, like pretty much less than what minimum wage is now, but we'll still make the recommendation like, no, you should be using software to do this, because just from an efficiency standpoint, from an affordability standpoint, it just makes more sense. I think the thing that's unique, and I mean, I've literally myself like worked and talked to some of these guys with this AI, machine learning stuff. There's nothing that I've seen yet that fully takes over the human element that is so like innately ingrained in real estate, right? And especially like on the agent side, where I mean, it's the hardest customer service experience that of really any industry. Like I order a book from Amazon and I don't like it, I send it back. Who cares? They credit me, I'm good. Like you miss out on an offer for somebody, or something in your transaction coordination process results in that person not closing on that house, like that can literally destroy your business. So the part that's nice is, number one, agents are go go go. So for a lot of our agents, usually the first hire they make is kind of a general like executive back end office administration assistant, where when something hits the fan or you need to follow up with someone, or somebody texts you personally on your phone with new business, you've got someone who you can quickly hit that to, who can reach out, and that touch point can be just as personal as if you're doing it yourself, right? So you maintain that level of customer service. The other thing there is, across all of these softwares, while the automations are damn good, there still is points in almost every single workflow or every single process, even if you've got it mostly in your software, that still require human inputs, right? So having somebody who works right alongside you, who's able to take that on, um, close out that task, make that phone call, follow up on that text message. Um, that I feel like that is something that I haven't seen a software yet that you can truly fully automate it, and where a VA can be so valuable because, for example, it might just be three, four, five things that are required of them within how your CRM works. Well, maybe it doesn't make sense for you to go hire a $20 an hour, executive assistant or office administrator in your local market. But at $10 an hour for someone that's remote that can plug in for 20 hours a week, like that's a lot more affordable, and you can make those numbers work a lot better. Not to mention, like, if you're paying someone part-time for work here and there to help you in your local market, like how much attention are they giving to your business, right? They're probably going to have a
Right.
couple other jobs, or maybe they start with you and in 3 months they're gone. Like with a VA, that's a real opportunity. That's, a real household income that you can have somebody who will last with your company longer, which only adds to their level of knowledge, adds to that level of professionalism, really allows you to capture your brand and your voice. And it really becomes invaluable when you look at the cost savings, as well as just the fact that they pretty much become an extension of you, where the technology just isn't able to kind of have that automation.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's just so different, right? With having technology, and I have a good example of that is that we do a lot of blog posts, me and my business partner, and we do a lot of SEO optimization on our side, and we used to use this tool called Rank Map. I mean, we still do, and it's AI kind of telling you what you got to do to optimize whatever your website is. So for certain keywords, right? And then we did a good job with that, but now that we're hiring virtual assistants, we have other people that are working with us, it's a completely different strategy because, it's not just following a checklist that everybody can do and, anybody can do, and you're not separating yourself. Now you are putting in like a personal and an expertise level of a speciality inside there. So you can actually differentiate yourself from other people that are out there, which is, it's super important. And I think people are missing out on that for solely relying on technology.
Yeah, and I think there's levels to it, right? Like I'm sure there's some listeners that are just like, dude, my CRM's a nightmare. I hate going in there. Like it almost just acts as like a Rolodex for them, right? So for someone like that, having those manual processes in place is super valuable because those manual processes right now still have to be done and it's you doing them. So like I said, whether it's like contact management, whether it's just hiring a VA who can actually get your CRM sorted out, right? Where it's more than just a data repository, but you don't actually use the functionality, like boom, perfect for a VA. So like for those, those agents who are either just getting going or they've kind of run a small kind of boutique business, maybe just on their own, where they've always struggled with the technology, VA is perfect to help kind of make that transition. And then there's the other side of the spectrum where it's like those VA roles are more to supplement the technology, right? If you're a broker owner, or even if you've invested in some of the kind of more established CRMs with a lot of the bells and whistles, like now it's like you almost need someone who's kind of the puppet master, if you will, who can like run your reports and check your marketing stats and go and look at your conversion rates and kind of everything that's in there. Where I mean, I've met very few, agents or real estate entrepreneurs who like their niche is like, I want to be the data nerd, right? Like most of them, like they want to be out in front of people. Like that's why they got into real estate. So there's definitely levels to it. If you're just kind of getting going, or you're just trying to establish yourself, or maybe you're a part-time agent while you have another day job, like a VA can be super valuable because you probably have a lot of manual processes and they can just help run those processes for you and do those jobs and do those tasks every single day, whether it's post stuff to social media, create a content calendar, follow up with my referrals quicker. Like they can just be the ones that carry that out. Or there's the other side of it where you have and rely on a lot of technology. And now you need somebody to kind of make sure it's run and operational and the reports are being run and new campaigns are being launched, right? It's kind of both sides of that coin to just be able to supplement depending on like what the status and kind of the scale of your business is at that given time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's uses for, I mean, for everybody out there. And I think, the biggest thing is, instead of, I think, and we're going to talk, I think, about this next, is, some of the pitfalls that agents are running into when they're hiring VAs, especially the ones that are doing it by themselves, right? I think one of the biggest ones that I've seen is they treat their virtual assistants like AI, right? Like they treat them like technology, or somebody who's a robot just kind of doing tasks for them, like part of an assembly line, versus an actual human being with their own special value and expertise on their end to be able to help you their own way. So aside from that, and even expanding on that, what are some of the biggest challenges and pitfalls and mistakes that you've seen agents do and make when they're hiring virtual assistants on their own, or even through you guys as well? What are some of the biggest mistakes, and what are the best ways to just completely avoid them?
Yeah, no, definitely. And the biggest one that we've talked on is like just the lack of process and direction. I
Yeah.
mean, for most people, like if you're hiring, it's typically for one of two reasons, right? Either you need to get more efficient and just based on the current volume you have, you just need more man or woman power, or you're looking to expand into a new market, you're looking to grow your business and you're going to need new people. Well, like both of those are like pretty stressful times, right? There's usually a lot of stuff going on. Like it's not just like, oh cool, I'm going to go try to double my business in the next quarter. That's just going to happen, right? There's usually you're working with marketing agencies, you're working with your software company. Like it's not like there's usually a lot of time, right, to sit there and train somebody and go over it and mentor them. So that would be the biggest thing that we see, is just kind of coming back to the process piece. It's like somebody quote unquote knows they need a VA only because they know they're busy, right? They haven't gone through the steps to say, okay, well, I need them to do this, this, and this specifically. And then of those things, this is how I want them to do it. This is the software that I use. This is the cadence. This is the approvals, right? We're just hiring to hire. We're hiring because we know we're busy, but we're not hiring to set somebody up for success. And that's what I tell people. I mean, we've heard it all, like the nightmare stories, the good, the bad. VAs are obviously sexy because like you look at the price point per hour compared to like the volume and the quality of work you can get. And it's like, oh, no brainer. Like I can afford somebody at that price to do this work that I'd have to pay triple the rate here in Dallas to hire somebody. Like no brainer. But so many of the horror stories come back to like time. Like who cares if you hire someone for 7, 8, 10, 15 bucks an hour that you'd have to pay triple that here locally. If you waste 3 months and that person ends up flaming out or you have to fire them, like that's still 3 months. Like what does that cost to your business? So spending the time to go through the planning, to set the person up for success. I've never met a VA. I've never met an employee that takes a job and on day one is like, I hate this. I'm not going to try hard. Right. So a lot of people that say like, oh, my VA just didn't work out. It was them, blah, blah, blah. I just, I don't hold a lot of water to that just because like, I know anytime you start a job on day one, like you're trying to impress, right? That's why your livelihood, your family, your take home is all on the line. So what we find so much is just that lack of planning. Typically just never allows agents to unlock the power that VAs can actually be. The second part of that is once they're working for you, they're not like the dirty stepchild who like sleeps in the closet, right? They're not the
Right.
robot where it's just like, like you have to invest time. Part of being an entrepreneur is okay, you just outline this role that's going to take 20, 30, 40 hours of work off of your plate. Part of that leveling up as a business owner is yes, doing work that is high output, revenue generating, like all the catchy things that we all hear at all these masterminds. Like, yes, it's that. The second part is leading people, right? Leading your teams, especially when you are a single agent, or maybe you work in a brokerage, but like your team is your team, where maybe it's a VA, maybe you have like a transaction coordinator that you utilize. Like it's a small enough team where you need to, once again, coming back to time blocking, allocate 2, 3, 4 hours a week just to checking in on them, making sure they've got what they need, right? Now that we've got the process established, there should be clarity in what they need to do. But now it's your time to be checking in, right? And to do that kind of management piece. And I know management is, I mean, once again, another reason most agents get into the real estate space, because like management is not a sexy word, but like as a business owner, you've got to invest time into that person. Um, you've got in both from like an outcome perspective, making sure they're hitting their KPIs and metrics, but also just from like a people perspective, right? Like checking in with your team, seeing how they're doing, like how was the first day of school, like how was your vacation, like those little things go a long way. And that attitude and treating somebody like they're sitting there in the office beside you shouldn't vary whether they're a VA or whether they are a local employee, right? You need to
Right.
make that investment. A big part of what we do for our clients that onboard with us, we're very intentional about setting like daily check-in meetings, opening open lines of communication, like having, educating the client on what the frequency of those check-ins should be. What should the conversations be? What should we be asking? Just because, a lot of people don't know what they don't know. But you have to set time on your calendar to check in, to ask questions, to evaluate campaigns and performance. You can't just kind of set it and forget it, if you will.
Right.
And I think, I know just from my personal experience, even consultants, even agencies that we've used in the past, like that's usually never the case. I've never found, whether it's a virtual assistant or whether it's a full agency, where you can just set and forget something and you get the results that you want, right? Part of that maturation as a business owner is like you now have to spend time to hold people accountable and check in on them and make sure you're as in tune with what they're doing as they are. So I think that's the other big pitfall that we find is, you say we've used the word magic button here a couple times, but like so many people hire a VA and they go through screening and they're like, all right, do your thing. And it's like, no, like this is your business. Like you've got to make the investment there from an accountability standpoint, from a cultural building standpoint, to build that rapport with the team member the same way you would, with somebody local.
Right, exactly. I mean, do you guys get a lot of people or meet a lot of people that just they'll go to you guys and they'll say, I don't want to train them. I don't want to spend any time. You guys hire for this. I need a VA for technology, or they'll be so vague. Like, I need a social media VA, and they'll come to you like, I'll pay whatever, but I need a social media VA. And it's like, don't ever talk to me again. Do you guys get a lot of, or at least
Yeah,
some people like
and
that?
and candidly, we say, hey, I don't think we're the right fit for you. And don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, there's lots of VA services that sell it. I know from my industry knowledge, that's typically
Yeah.
not how it's delivered. It's typically a breakup down the road too. But yeah, it's just it can be a lot more efficient, right? Because you think about the time that goes in if you were to do this all yourself, right? Upwork.com, Fiverr, onlinejobs.ph. Like anybody who hasn't heard of those,
Mhm.
go check it out. You can go hire your own VA, right? Just like any business, we have carved out a niche and a need based on where we see problems for people to hire. But like if you want to go and vet through 100 resumes and read CVs and read, introductory letters. Go ahead. If you want to do 50 interviews to find the right person, do it. If you want to do, background screening and you want to do personality profiling, like there's 100 steps, right? There's a reason HR departments and HR personnel make as much money as they do at major companies, right? Because like
Yeah.
finding great human capital is tough. But yeah, no, we do. We have people that come in, they're like, I want an ISA. I'm not training them. They need to know my software and I need them to start tomorrow. And I say, awesome. We're not the right fit for you. I'm sorry. Cause we can be a lot more efficient. We can save you the 1,000 hours it takes to onboard a team member, but we're going to need a couple hours a week of your time to make sure we're hitting the marks, make sure the team members got the answers they need, make sure we establish that relationship, right? There's just no, if I could find the ATM for just, hey, do it for me and make me money, I would share it with you, Kobe, and we'd both be rich not doing this podcast. But it doesn't exist, right? It's everything takes that little bit of effort and we can streamline it. We can save our clients 98, 99% of them doing it themselves. But we need that feedback, right? You need those feedback loops in order to, in the beginning, get the right person, in order to document the process correctly. Once they're working, in order to make sure they're empowered, make sure they have clarity, make sure the communication's there. And then at the end of the day, make sure they're getting the results. And it takes a little bit of work. It's a heck of a lot more efficient, we feel like, doing it with us. But yeah, anybody who's like, hey, I just want the magic button, sorry, go try to do it yourself. And then maybe in a couple months, you'll understand why we have this business and why we structure it this way. And then we can kind of help you with that, with a little bit of investment from your end.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just it's something that people just have to understand. Like, if you want to take 10 steps forward, you have to at least take half a step back, right? Like, you're not even willing to take a half a step back, then, right? So you're not going to move forward at all. So it is an important piece to understand, and not everything is just gonna be in place for you, and then without you putting in any effort at all. I mean, you guys are doing a great job of helping people save time, but it's not going to require no time for the agent or the investor who wants to go in there and hire a VA that's actually going to be working out for them. So
Yeah, and one thing
yeah,
I'll say to that piece is, like, we've kind of talked about, and hopefully, the listeners are getting some very
right,
practical things to take home. But like this market right now, there's a ton of uncertainty, right? I'm sure there's a lot
right,
of people in terms of business volume, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of prepare, like way different conversations than what we were having a year ago coming into Thanksgiving and
yeah,
Christmas, right? So what I would say in that, from that aspect, and I say this just out of, we're working with a lot of our agents, our investor clients, as they're navigating these kind of unheard of waters, is like a time like this, it's like, what are you doing? Right? Like, are you the agent out there that's just panicking, like with no control over anything and it's just happening? And like I said, I don't know, it's beginning of November now. I'm not sure when the episode will drop, but based on where interest rates are, nothing's going to change in the next couple months. Like, this is the perfect time when you talk about needing a little bit of a lull. You need to take the treadmill down to 2 when it's been on 102. This is like that perfect time, right? This is that time where like the real winners, the people who are going to grow their business coming out of this is the time you plan. This is the time you focus on process, where you look at VAs, you look at software, you look at other hires. Like, this is that lull that some agents are just going to be terrified and sit back and let the world happen, right? The people who come out of this on top are the ones that use this time to plan, because the market's going to come back. It always does. And what we're seeing working with a lot of our clients is like positioning that so that they come out of this, maybe they're flat, maybe they're a little bit down for the next quarter or 6 months, but in 2 years, they go from the number 5 agent in their market to the number 2, or they go from a new agent that just got their license a couple years ago to somebody who's doing 10 deals a month. Like, that's what I would say I would challenge. And I only know this through working with all of our clients. Like, this is that lull, right? This is where the winners, put the work in and kind of stick to the process to be able to come out on top, playing the long game rather than just, the short game of the month to month. How many deals am I doing this month?
right, exactly. I mean, it's time to kind of, it's a good time to slow down a little bit here, just to reassess everything and how to move forward. And I think, adding pieces to your business that wasn't there before is a great way to do that. And I think, maybe you can touch on this a little bit as well. is for the agents who already have virtual assistants. Maybe they have one, maybe they have two or three that's working part-time each, right? What are some of the things that you would say to those people who maybe have like a part-time virtual assistant? Should they keep, hiring them part-time, or should they try to, should we avoid part-time virtual assistants all in general because, it doesn't really sit well with, kind of the message of, are you really going to be able to outsource? Is this person really going to be putting in the effort, or maybe 3 months down the line they're going to be gone, right?
Yeah. So I think it's always situation by situation. What I would say is anybody who has had their VAs for a while, like I think whether they're part-time or full-time, like be evaluating. If you've had them for, let's just call it 6 months. If you had them for more than 6 months, my guess is they've probably shown their worth. So, I mean, another thing in a market like this, like a VA is a very affordable, very scalable resource, right? To where like if you do need to go lean for whatever reason, just because of the market changing times, look at your VA, look at their workload, have conversations with them. What are you doing? What's slowing you down the most? If I were to give you this, do you think that you could add that to your plate? Like, this is the time to really like, and I hate this phrase, but like lean into your VAs if you are somebody who has had them and has good relationships and is maximizing them, right? Because the term VA, and it's funny, this rings true both to the VAs we recruit on the Philippines side as well as to clients. The term VA 3 years ago was basically like a remote professional in another country, right? And that's even on the recruitment side. I mean, we evaluate close to like 4,000 applicants a month. So when
Wow.
we put job descriptions out there, most of the time, circa COVID, we were putting virtual assistant jobs. Well, virtual assistant kind of brings that note, that connotation of like they're just an admin assistant. Like they can just manage my calendar, or they can just take notes on a meeting, or they can do some basic email management. Where our business had to change both on like the services we sell as well as like how we recruit people is like everyone in the world now is a VA, because like work
Yeah.
from home for the most part is like here to stay, especially for agents. Like agents have always been VAs. Like how many agents, their office
Right.
is their car? You know what I mean? Like they've always been remote. So like that kind of just mentality shift of like, hey, don't think of that person who just does lead qualification for me as a VA. Think of them as a valuable member of my team and look at their skill sets and look at their strengths and look at how they communicate, or where you've seen them really excel in your business, and start to think of the other things that you could plug into them and really utilize them more as an employee and as a dedicated resource, rather than just that virtual assistant who we kind of, subliminally put into a box because they have the tag of virtual assistant. So
Right.
anybody out there, we're encouraging people like lean in. Like if you've got VAs that you're happy with that have shown upside, that are performing well, I bet there's more that they could do, that through some process mapping, through some, clearly defining of some roles, they could help you, right? Either help you take on new things that you're tackling, or help take some more stuff off your plate so that you can maximize it. The second piece of that, as we kind of go through, a shifting market, is just always evaluating, right? Always evaluating their roles, their responsibilities, trying to make sure you're not putting like square pegs in round holes,
Right.
right? With how quickly like the market has changed, maybe the person you had because you had tons of leads coming in because you were killing it on social media or whatever, like that might not be the case right now. Maybe now it's like you need to provide a better experience through the transaction process, right? So evaluating those skill sets and making sure the people you've got now are the right fit for what the need is for your business, and
Yeah.
making sure that those match. So often a nice part of our service is like you can hire, fire, hire more, hire less at will. So we allow clients, whether it's just like the natural growth of their business or through uncertain times like this, or like through seasonal influxes, we can help get them the right type of person into that seat. And they only technically have to be there for a couple weeks. Like obviously we're in it for the long term, but just look at and evaluate your skill sets. Like, is what you hired that person for 2 years ago, is that still what you need them to do? And then if it's not, like, are they the right fit? Do they have the right skill sets to be that person? I think that's super important. And then just kind of answer the part-time, full-time question. I think part-time VAs, and the reason we offer it is the flexibility is nice, right? If you
Right.
are, if you're an upstart agent or a part-time agent, like you might not just have the need, whether it's like work volume or whether it's budget to be able to hire someone full time. So it gives some really good flexibility. Me personally, like I always encourage full time just because just from commitment to your business, like most VAs, like you mentioned on the beginning of the call, like they're contractors, right? They're maybe freelancers, like they're working with other clients. I mean, I'm big about time and attention. So it's like, how much time is it going to take me? And like, how much of the focus and attention is going to be on me? And I evaluate that, whether it's, working with an agency, working with a VA, working with employees, like how much focus do they have? And for me, like how much focus do I need them to have? Like, am I good with them only being dedicated to my business for 4 hours a week? Like, is that what the role is? Like, perfect. I think for anybody who's preparing for a shift or preparing to like launch larger campaigns, even if you're kind of like overpaying or maybe trying to fill some time, trying to take someone from part-time to full-time, just look at like, what is this role in 6 months? What is this role in a year? Just because of the affordability of it, I think it always makes sense to kind of overhire in the beginning.
Mhm.
Just because, yes, you might be overhiring, right? We all see the tech layoffs and everything that's happening, but you're overhiring a very affordable resource that if they can be prepared and spend the extra time and you can make sure they're going to be working for you in 3 months, 6 months, a year, that can typically pay bigger dividends on the backside, as well as like bring more focus and attention to, to what you need right now.
Right. Yeah. It's like investing, right? Like what kind of investments are you making? Except this is an investment in, real estate. You just talk about investing in real estate all the time. So this isn't like investing in real estate or investing in a stock or a company. This is investing in the people
Yep.
that are going to help you build a better business. That's going to help you grow. That's help you survive, even, in a shifting market. I think a lot of agents are thinking in survival mode too. So this is, think about what kind of time, what kind of money you are willing to, and what you should be investing, because this is an investment that you're making. This is not, I like they throw the word expense around a lot. So this is, think of it as an investment, not an expense, if that makes more sense. So I
Yeah.
think,
And I think it's funny. I think
yeah.
you just summed it up. Your question, you summed it up way more eloquently than I did. You should
Yeah.
look at it as an investment, right? Like a lot of people look at VAs as like it's work they don't want to do, or and it's seen as an expense. Like this VA isn't like, no. Like if that VA can come in and clean up your CRM and manage all your data and take 3,000 records and we can run some type of retargeting campaign to it. Number one, could you have had the time to do that? And number two, from those 3,000 new contacts that we're touching base with, how many referrals come from that? How many people are just looking to buy a house or looking to whatever the case may be, where you can establish that connection and cultivate more business off it. So I think you just killed it. Like look at your VA team as an investment. If you're looking at it as an expense, you might not need a VA, right? You might not be in the right state of mind where having a VA is something you're really going to get the most out of. Because with any team member, you should be looking at the ROI on everybody that you hire and what is the net positive. And your VAs are no different than that.
Yep, exactly. I think we both got some value to this, right? But no, I think you're definitely the expert on this. But so I mean, like, I guess like the next thing that I really kind I want to know as well. I think most people listening to this as well is, let's just say, I was coming to you right now, I was this agent, and I'm working 100 hours a week. I'm working more hours a week than there even is hours in a week. And, I know I need a virtual assistant, but I don't know where to start because I'm moving so fast, and I get the market's about to slow down. And, I'm going to have some time, but I don't know where to start. And I need guidance. I need help. So somebody like this who's super busy, they just need more time, but they don't know where to start. Where do you suggest they start with? What do you suggest would be step one, or even step zero, if that makes sense?
Yeah, definitely. So this would be like the actionable piece for all the
Yeah.
listeners. And I keep it really simple. And I'll use a more PG word here. It's your oh shoot bucket. And we call it something different internally, but the easiest place to start is as an entrepreneur is your oh shoot bucket. So every time you're like, oh shoot, I forgot to do this. Oh shoot, I didn't send this. Oh shoot, I don't have time to do that. Oh shoot, I don't like doing this. that's the perfect stuff that you need a VA for. And like I said, in terms of working with us, we literally put our clients through that exercise. If they don't really, if they know they need a VA, but don't know what a VA could do, we put them through that exercise. And then from that, we back into the processes and systems around like, okay, well, what does that look like? But that's the easiest thing. I tell everybody, and like it's funny, I was talking to a colleague yesterday. The ultimate hack for this is like, don't think you can put a little notebook or a sticky note in your back pocket and you'll be able to capture all of the oh shoot moments that happen in a week being an agent, right? So the hack here is take an 8x11 piece of paper, fold it 4 ways so it'll fit in your back pocket. And for the next week, every time you have an oh shoot, oh shoot, oh shoot, write that down, right? That's the stuff that you need to prioritize that you're subliminally already knowing. Like, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at lead follow up. I'm not good at following up with my clients or with sending out, proposal packages or whatever the case may be, or scheduling my sign guy to go put the sign in the lawn, right? Like all those oh shoot moments, all those little things that needs to go on that list. And that's what everybody should do, because that's the first step to understanding like, okay, from that list, even though I might not be doing it, like, is it important for me to be doing it? And do I need to maybe allocate more of my own resources to focus on that? But what happens for 90% of that list is that's the stuff you realize, like, I need to document a system and I need to hire somebody. I need to hire a VA to do that for me, because that's not stuff I should be doing or is worth my time to begin with. So I encourage everybody here to come out of this with an oh shoot list. And that's kind of the initial playbook, the initial roadmap to get started.
Right. Yeah, I love it. Just before you even get started into setting up systems and processes, you have to know what systems and processes there is necessary to set up, and whether or not you something you thought was necessary was even necessary in the first place, or whether you need to go in there and do it. But no, I think it's a great way for people to start. So if you guys are an agent who's busy, who's working a lot of hours a day, who are forgetting things constantly, you can take some of this advice and then go out there and make your own shoot list, right? The PG version of that. So go in there and make that list so you know what parts of your business you need to start setting up processes for, and hiring virtual assistants and employees, or even like you can even think of them as like partners in your business to help you take care of that burden as well. So I love it, Greg. So before we kind of like let you go here and let the listeners kind of let this information sink in and digest it, is there anything that you want to share about where the direction of Rocket Station is going, as the market's shifting, anything you want to like leave with the audience here before they kind of take this information on their own and go and implement and digest it themselves?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously anyone interested in finding out more, maybe you've got VAs, you've looked at VAs, you need to hire a VA, head on over to discovery.rocketstation.com. That's my team's calendar. We've got a whole team of consultants who'd love to hop in and help you build your oh shoot list, and kind of walk through your business and understand kind of where you're at and what you're working through. So that's discovery.rocketstation.com. If you just head over to the website, rocketstation.com, there's tons of free guides, resources, a lot of the stuff we talked about, like everything from like, how do I start process mapping to like, how do I hire and inspire and train VAs? Like we've got it all over there, all free for the listeners. So like, if you want just some resource guides, feel free to head over there as well. If you're not sure, not quite ready to hire a VA, but you want to kind of dive a little bit deeper in there, definitely do that. And yeah, I mean, the direction for us is, especially with kind of the market reset, I mean, we're really trying to be there for our clients, knowing that the last, 3, 4, 5 years has been go, 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 right? We are trying to help our partners, whether they're reevaluating businesses, whether they're looking at their P&L, whether they're preparing for growth and scale coming out of this. I mean, I read a stat yesterday. I think it's like on like the property management side, there's like 1 in 5 houses are being bought by institutional investors now. Like, it's just that the market is so crazy at this point that we're really trying to help our clients really understand full scope, what their technology can do for them, what their VAs can do for them, what their team members can do for them, and really helping them build these new, remote work from home, virtual offices, like whatever you want to call it. We've been doing this for 9 years. We've been remote. We've had people, thousands of employees all over the world, literally. So it's something that's not new to us. But it's something that's still, I mean, even almost 3 years into this, it's still tough for some people, trying to navigate the virtual workforce. So we're really trying to help people, get set up, whether it's from a talent standpoint, whether it's from a business structure standpoint. And like I said, just really looking forward to, the next 6 months, a year of this industry as we all kind of navigate, through what has been a little bit of a downtick, to kind of see what comes out of this, and kind of where the market goes.
Right. Yeah. So if you guys are interested on hiring a virtual assistant, outsourcing parts of your business, make sure to reach out to Rocky Station. They'll be sure to take care of you, and check out some of their information on their website, on their social media channels as well, and they'll be able to give you a little more information on that. So Greg, thanks so much for doing this and sharing all the knowledge that you've accumulated working with agents and assistants as well, and bridging that gap. And you shared a lot of valuable knowledge for us today. So I want to thank you again for that. For the listeners tuning in, thank you for tuning into this podcast. And if you guys are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere, make sure to give it a 5-star review. Write something good about it, or if you didn't like it, text me privately. No, leave a good review. And if you're on YouTube, give it a like, leave a comment below. Any questions you have, I'd appreciate it. And other than that, Greg, any last thoughts before I let you go here, or
No,
shared
man.
all of
So I
it?
guess I say you're in Houston, so I guess I gotta say like go Astros. I don't know how many listeners are gonna be pissed off that I said that, but being up here in Dallas, we had to watch that with tears in our eyes. But we appreciate you having us on, man. And like I said, anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or the team.
Awesome. Thanks again, Greg. And for the listeners tuning in, thank you for listening. And I'll see you guys on the next show. Take care.